Hey Spuds, it's Jamie, welcome back to another video. If that's been on channel, I don't know, but welcome either way. And today we're talking about Harry Potter. Oh yes, I am delving into that world.
Today is the day.
Understandably, on the channel I've spoken a fair amount about J.K. Rowling, but less so about the Harry Potter franchise. I personally used to love it. It's very nostalgic for me. It was a big part of my childhood, the books, the movies, all of that stuff. But with the amount of transphobia that J.K. Rowling has been spreading, and with her stating directly things like this, it's important to me to not support the Harry Potter franchise in any way that increases its notoriety or supports J.K. Rowling. I personally find it really disappointing to see so many big brands and so many of my favorite brands very much still supporting J.K. Rowling and building her profits in Harry Potter. I can totally appreciate that complete avoidance of Harry Potter is difficult for a lot of people. There's a deep love there. It's very meaningful to a lot of people. The message is something that is felt very hard for a lot of people. And I don't judge people who want to partake in Harry Potter and the fandom as long as it doesn't profit J.K. Rowling. And as long as you are, one, not promoting it publicly to others, two, if you're buying anything to do with the series, you're buying it secondhand or fan-made things so that your money isn't lining the pocket of a transphobe. And three, you aren't voting in ways that contribute towards transphobia on a greater scale. But this really only works for past things. You may have heard that coming up, there is a new Harry Potter TV series. It's been talked about for a long time. I feel like it was big news and then it didn't get talked about and people forgot about it and it kind of felt like maybe it wasn't happening and it's been a bit up in the air for a while. But recently there seems to have been progress and forward movements with this series and it does seem to be happening. J.K. Rowling does seem to be directly involved in the TV series, and understandably there's a lot of people who are unhappy about that. As long as the transphobic lady is involved, I'm not interested. And this sentiment was shared by others as well. I'm not going to get into why it's been on and off and discussions around it seem to have been very slow, but what I am going to talk about is two things that have happened recently that have meant I'm hearing about it again and it's being talked about. Most recently are rumours that Cillian Murphy will join the series. Cillian Murphy is best known for Peaky Blinders and is fresh off Oppenheimer's success, and he's quite well known for playing villains, including Scarecrow in Batman, which was very good. I do want to point out that his involvement is far from being confirmed in any way, shape or form. It is merely a discussion at this point. The fandom is saying there are rumours, but there is nothing officially confirmed at this moment in time. Fan casting is a real thing though, and it doesn't mean it's going to happen for certain, but it can be taken seriously within the industry if there is a demand from fans, and it can lead to things actually happening. They're saying Cillian would make a great Voldemort, and the fandom as a whole are really running with this idea. Though I'm not a Harry Potter geek, but I have seen the movie with Voldemort and genuinely loved it, Cillian Murphy is hands down the perfect man for an antagonist like Voldemort. Hopefully this rumour is true, can't wait until the confirmation. Honestly, would be a banger casting. Cillian Murphy as Voldemort, that's a game changer. The other recent news is in the casting of the three main characters, Harry, Ron and Hermione. The casting call went out recently, and it's quite common for these casting calls to say that they are committed to inclusive and diverse casting, regardless of ethnicity, disability, etc. This is what it said on the actual casting call leaflet. We're committed to include diverse casting. For every role, please submit qualified performers without regards to ethnicity, disability, race, sexual orientation, gender identity, or any other basis protected by law unless otherwise specifically indicated. And I'm not here to criticize child actors looking for their first break. I think it's incredibly complex, and I'm especially not going to criticize them when they're aged 9 to 11 years. What I would say is that I hope that more informed adults will be able to tell anybody looking to be involved in this Harry Potter series of the potential negative consequences of doing so. The legacy is already becoming heavily tarnished, and as time goes on, this will just get more and more. J.K. Rowling's views on trans people will be on the wrong side of history. I do think it's quite reflective though to see that some people who are heavily engaged with the series show quite discriminatory views on multiple fronts. If they are not all white, we are boycotting this. Harry Potter is white, Ron Weasley is white, Hermione Granger is white. End of discussion. Can we please put a hold on this until wokeness is dead? No one wants to watch yet another beloved story be abused by resentful, entitled, incompetent adult children. The very first casting announcement for HBO's Harry Potter series says they're committed to inclusive, diverse casting and mentions gender identity. Not a great sign for those of us hoping the remake no one is asking for would at least not fall victim to the same woke pandering for modern audiences that has desecrated one cherished IP after another in recent years. Okay, some quite intense opinions. Clearly there are bigots who are big fans of Harry Potter. I also, just to be clear, clear, don't think anybody should be judging Cillian Murphy at this point. For all intents and purposes, he may be completely unaware that this is even being discussed. But it has made me think that if someone like Cillian, or any other well-known prolific actor, were to take part, do they have a moral obligation not to do so? High-profile respected people speaking out and rejecting roles, like Emma Watson has done, like Daniel Radcliffe has done retrospectively. It's only by denouncing these roles and holding such projects accountable for the social impact they inevitably have that people will start to take human rights more seriously, and specifically in this case, trans rights. I also find it interesting specifically with Cillian Murphy because LGBT plus discussions are not something he's shied away from in the past. In a movie called Breakfast on Pluto, Cillian played a transgender woman. Now this was back in 2005, so nearly 20 years ago, and whilst now it would be frowned upon that a cis man was cast in the role of a trans woman, as it should be because trans actors should be getting these roles. The landscape was very different back then, and this was something that was more commonly done. Unfortunately, never should have been a thing that happened like that. I don't think it's fair to judge him based on a role he took 20 years ago. However, what I would say is that a role like that was played. He profited off of that role. He won awards because of that role. And I think when that happens, it becomes a responsibility to stand by the awareness that you're creating for a specific community and try not to do things that would directly harm that community. And so I guess the question now is, how would Cillian Murphy taking on the role of Voldemort in this new Harry Potter series harm the trans community? Well, J.K. Rowling has already suggested that she sees support of her work as support of her views, including in tweets such as her response to this: "How do you sleep at night knowing you've lost a whole audience from buying your books?" And she replied saying, "I read my most recent royalty checks and find the pain goes away pretty quickly." We've also seen top politicians and hateful bigots use her very public transphobia as sources and reasoning to spread their own hate, which there are more in-depth videos about on my channel if you want to go check them out. Cillian's not only played roles of LGBT plus people, he's also responded negatively towards homophobic propaganda. Last year, and you have to bear with me on this one because it sounds a little bizarre considering Trump's views. Last year, DeSantis posted a video as part of his presidential campaign calling out Trump for vowing to protect LGBTQ plus citizens. The video goes on to talk about DeSantis's own incredibly discriminatory comments and policies on the LGBT plus community, and showed DeSantis spliced together with images of shirtless muscular men like Christian Bale, Brad Pitt, and Cillian Murphy as Tommy Shelby from Peaky Blinders. Cillian Murphy and his team then released this statement: "On behalf of the partners of Peaky Blinders, Stephen Knight, Cillian Murphy, Karen Manderbach Productions, Tiger Aspect Productions, and Banijay Rights, we confirm the footage of Tommy Shelby's character used within the video posted by Ron DeSantis' campaign was obtained without permission or official license. We do not support nor endorse the video's narrative and strongly disapprove of the use of the content in this manner." This statement, paired with the fact that he played a trans person in a previous role, would suggest that Cillian is not himself transphobic. Then the question is, if Cillian were to be offered this role, and if he were to accept the role, should there be a pro-social moral attachment to that beyond just accepting a job as an actor? I'd be very interested to hear your thoughts, so feel free to leave them below. I personally think that if an established actor were to take this role, that would be very disappointing, and it would show an ignorance to what's going on, or even an approval to J.K. Rowling's views. And the bigger the names are that are involved in the new Harry Potter TV series, the bigger a success it will be. People have literally said that having Cillian Murphy involved would be a game changer for them for the TV series. And the more successful the TV show is, the more opportunities and money J.K. Rowling will continue to make off of the Harry Potter franchise, with seemingly no repercussions for her transphobic views. To keep these creations relevant while J.K. Rowling is still profiting off of them is to keep J.K. Rowling relevant, and to keep J.K. Rowling relevant is to keep her views relevant. And some people might be asking, why has it got to be this deep? Why can't taking an acting role just be taking an acting role and accepting a job? If I'm working in an organization and my client is transphobic, I'm not expected in an office environment to specifically search for that and then specifically quit my job over that. I'm not saying people wouldn't, but there's just not the same pressure. And I do get that in certain circumstances. And I also do think that the media industry is different. I personally have stopped working with sponsors and walked away from money due to a disagreement in moral standpoints. I think when public profile is involved, there is an extra responsibility, whether we like it or not, to think of that greater impact. I find it really disappointing when people I mutually follow online, people who have large followings themselves, publicly share and promote Harry Potter. They promote watching the TV series, reading the book, going to the studios, buying Harry Potter related merch. Because I personally don't think that you can claim to be a trans ally and then publicly share to such large audiences, influencing them to buy into the Harry Potter franchise. You are encouraging people to buy products from a franchise that directly lines the pockets of one of the most prolific transphobes there is at the minute. And this is cis people who are in the LGBT plus community that I've seen doing this as well. When it comes to public profiles, people have an influence and people pay attention beyond just the work you're doing. You're no longer an individual person just doing your job. When you take part in projects like this, you become part of the promotion and part of the advertising and part of the pull to get bums in seats and money in pockets. And as is totally right and absolutely the correct thing to be happening, when it's other issues that aren't related to trans things and trans people, producers, directors, actors are dropped. And there's instances where people refuse to work with people within the TV and film industry and other types of media industries long before the public knew anything about their wrongdoings. After hearing about Cillian's fan casting and reading a few tweets about people's opinions, I went online to read a little bit more about it. I found a really interesting article by Rachel Leishman begging Cillian Murphy not to take the role if he were offered. Because, and I quote, "The way that Rowling is acting is forcing people to choose. At this point, unless the rights to Potter are no longer hers, she is going to benefit from the series. People will buy her books, buy her merch, and make her more money. So an actor would then have to take a stand either way, push back against the woman they're making money for, or stand with her transphobia." And Rachel also wrote, "While I've moved on from my Harry Potter love, I have moments where I miss being able to talk about this series, but Rowling is the one who took that away from me. I have plenty of other things I love that I can talk about instead, which is why I don't particularly care about this show either way. But I do care about actors I love dearly, and I don't want to see their reputations ruined because of a show that no one particularly wanted. So no, I don't want Murphy as Voldemort. I think fans of Harry Potter might, but if you're a Cillian Murphy fan, I don't think you'd want to subject your fave to that kind of chaos, especially not with Rowling involved." In trying to find community thoughts on the topic, I think what I found most shocking was how little the conversation had spread beyond the LGBT plus bubble. You, Spud, if you're subscribed to me, are likely very aware of the damage and the harm and the impact that J.K. Rowling's transphobia has had on the trans community over the past several years, and the damaging impact of the continuing success of the Harry Potter franchise whilst J.K. Rowling is still involved, and continues to profit off of it. But I'd be so intrigued to see how many people, if we polled people going to the Harry Potter studios, how many of those people would actually be aware of the harm that J.K. Rowling has caused, and the impact they're having by going to the studio and directly contributing towards her profits. I'd have a feeling that most people wouldn't have a clue, and I don't know if that's reassuring or not, but I guess in one sense it's disappointing that it's not more widely known, the damage and the hurt that's being caused to the trans community, but at the same time, it would almost be more disappointing if everybody knew and still carried on lining J.K. Rowling's pockets. On the Harry Potter subreddit, with nearly 3 million members, they've actually banned any political discussions. They've also banned being discriminatory, so they've banned things like transphobia, which is great, but they've also banned any discussion at all of politics from within the last 20 years. I feel like their heart really is in the right place of wanting to create a space where fans of Harry Potter can just go talk about Harry Potter and not face discrimination, not face transphobia. And whilst that's a lovely sentiment, it's also problematic because it creates an environment where people can just be blissfully unaware and ignorant to the damages that J.K. Rowling is causing. It allows them to go on loving the franchise on this huge forum and supporting and discussing this franchise on a huge forum without even acknowledging any harm that's been caused and any harm that supporting the Harry Potter franchise is continuing to cause. By not allowing these discussions to happen, we're enabling apathy and ignorance amongst fans, and amongst some of the biggest fans, those fans that are literally going to the studios, buying the merchandise, signing up for the streaming services that have Harry Potter on them. It allows people to pretend that there's nothing wrong with supporting Harry Potter and J.K. Rowling. But it's so important for the discussions about the impact of the creator to happen within these spaces, for the fans to understand and not be ignorant to her impact. Because of what she has done, and because she is still involved within Harry Potter, her transphobia has become part of the Harry Potter world, whether fans like it or not. And if that makes you mad as a fan of the series, then be mad. Don't shy away from it, but it's not trans people's faults. Be mad at J.K. Rowling. She is the one that has tarnished this and ruined it and impacted it and changed it forever. And she continues to do these things because she continues to be involved and she continues to profit off of the franchise. It could potentially be argued that this cognitive dissonance between the creator and the franchise is being strategically strategically used to try and limit the damage of money being made by Harry Potter, which is why it's even more important to not just blindly follow and completely disconnect from the creator when considering Harry Potter. The Harry Potter cast reunion and return to Hogwarts was big news, and it was also big news that J.K. Rowling wasn't present. This seemed like an exclusion based on her viewpoints and the harm she's caused, and if I'm honest, up until doing the research for this video, that's very much the viewpoint I had. I viewed it as the industry going, no, we don't agree with her views. But if the industry was really going, no, we don't agree with her views, there wouldn't be any new Harry Potter content coming out until the artist was truly separated from the art in a financial and clear-cut way. I just want to say that alongside all of this, it's not me saying that people can't like Harry Potter or be involved in the fandom in some way. I'm just saying to be publicly promoting it, to be part of conversations around Harry Potter and never acknowledging the impact the creator has had on society and the negative impact J.K. Rowling has had on the trans community, and to be buying directly new things, new experiences that line her pockets is what I'm calling out. If you want to love Harry Potter and you want to be part of that fandom and you want to enjoy it, that's great. But buy secondhand, buy fan-made things, be involved in a way where you are aware of and the people you are talking to about it are aware of J.K. Rowling, and you are enjoying Harry Potter separate from her and not doing things that give her profit, because you can enjoy secondhand books and movies and merchandise, and those things will not provide profit to J.K. Rowling but still allow you to be part of the Harry Potter universe, and showing corporations and production companies and brands that we can enjoy Harry Potter without buying this new stuff. They can stop making these new merchandise bits. They don't need to make a new TV show. Anyway, going back to the Reddit forum, some people on there are loving the idea of potentially Cillian Murphy being Voldemort, and there are so many Squidward jokes. But the absolute bizarre and borderline dystopian levels of ignorance that shutting down conversations around J.K. Rowling's impacts lead to is conversations like this. I've actually heard David Tennant is being considered, which would be amazing, though I think I'd like him better as Dumbledore. Yeah, David Tennant is a good actor and he seems like a nice guy in real life. David Tennant as Voldemort would be astoundingly good casting, though I think I'd like it better if he was a character who was more present in the series. Then again, the adult characters aren't all that present anyway, so Voldy would be a great choice. Anyone who knows anything about trans rights and the discourse going on in the UK currently knows that David Tennant would be the last person that you would consider as a good option to take part in anything to do with the Harry Potter franchise whilst J.K. Rowling still profits. He is so unbelievably supportive of trans rights and incredibly switched on to how things are right now for trans people. J.K. Rowling has publicly written that David Tennant, who was actually involved in the initial movie series before J.K. Rowling became totally abhorrently transphobic, but she's literally said that David Tennant is part of the gender Taliban. Having a forum where you don't allow for discussions of real life impact is damaging, and we can see it here where people involved in the forum are either not aware or not able to express how ridiculous such a suggestion would be. And if most people are unaware, which does seem to be the case, it's important to raise awareness like this because we all deserve to have the autonomy and the power to decide where our spending is causing other effects within society and communities. So yes, it does have an impact, and there is a greater consideration that has to be taken on and considered, not just ignored when it comes to societal impact beyond profit. My concluding thoughts on this situation are, I do think it's unfair that actors, Cillian Murphy or otherwise, are put in a position of having a moral dilemma of whether they should put their social values or their careers first, but in certain circumstances it is inescapable. What I really think it boils down to, and where the onus truly lies, is on production companies, and it's on the people that are putting money behind making these projects actually happen. It's the people who are creating these opportunities in the first place. Why are we even remaking something that is still so heavily intertwined with somebody so problematic and harmful? Why do we even need these roles to be opportunities? There are infinite amounts of amazing, great, wonderful stories that haven't been told yet and aren't getting their opportunity to be told. And there are plenty of these amazing stories that don't support bigoted people. For as long as J.K. Rowling is involved in the franchise, whether we love, hate, or are indifferent towards Harry Potter, in the long run it will be frowned upon and it will affect the reputation of the actors involved. More so as trans rights progress, as they will, because as is the cycle of hate and bigotry and fights for equal rights across history. We are in a relatively low when it comes to trans people, and trans people are being attacked a lot right now and is unacceptably acceptable at the minute to be transphobic to a certain extent. But that will move on, and we will come round to seeing that those people who are transphobic, including J.K. Rowling, are very much on the wrong side of history. And I do think it will genuinely be questioned why people continue to support her work and be involved with her and her work for so long, despite her views causing such harm. So as this happens and trans rights inevitably progress, we'll look back on this time whether or not the creator and the creation are still so interlinked, and society will be shocked that Harry Potter as a cash cow franchise was still being squeezed for every single penny whilst J.K. Rowling was still directly profiting from it. So yeah, if you want to enjoy Harry Potter, if you still like Harry Potter, go do it. But please do it in a way that is aware and conscious and respectful of the harm the creator has caused. Do it in a way that does not profit her. Do it in a way that does not increase the ignorance and the ability for people to just ignore what she's done. Please go leave your comments about what you think on this topic down below, and think about giving the video a thumbs up and subscribing if you want to, but no pressure. And yeah, as always, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Much love. Bye.